Senator Paul, it's a pleasure. Welcome to Freedom Watch.
Good to be with you, Judge.
Thank you. As I watched you in the statement you made on the floor of the Senate, I sensed two things. I sensed anger that the president has taken authority under the Constitution that belongs to the Congress. I also sensed anger that the Congress is not angry, that it doesn't seem to be willing to do anything about it. Because you know from a basic reading of history, this happens over and over and over again, and each president who does it cites his predecessors as having gotten away with it as precedent for his doing it.
Well, you know what we did yesterday, and the reason I was on the floor is I introduced a resolution that uses the president's own words. The president, when he was a candidate, said, no president should fight a war without congressional authority unless we're in imminent danger of attack. These are the president's words verbatim. So I took his own words, put them into the Senate as a sense of the Senate resolution, and guess what? Today they're making them disappear. We'll have no vote on them. Even though the vote should be a priority right now, there's going to be no vote because people are embarrassed. They don't want to talk about Libya. They don't want to talk about the fact that they criticized Bush for years, but at least Bush came to Congress and there were votes before Afghanistan and votes before Iraq.
This is what gets under my skin when members of Congress will look the other way when the executive branch takes power away from them. Are there not other people who took the same oath that you did to uphold the same Constitution that you swore to uphold that are as angry about this as you are?
Well, I think there are some other good people here who will speak out and will vote for my resolution if they let a vote come forward on the resolution. But right now, my resolution has been basically taken off the table. For 3 days now, we've had no votes, and they're not going to vote again today, maybe because I think they don't want to vote on whether or not Congress should have this authority. They're embarrassed that the president took them to war precisely with the same kind of reasoning that they've always criticized up here, and that it should be Congress's prerogative.
Are they equally as embarrassed when we learned this morning that the president secretly authorized the CIA, whether they were wearing boots or sandals, because this phrase boots on the ground has become a big deal, but he put human beings working for the federal government carrying weapons on the ground in Libya 3 weeks ago, and yet he told us the other night that he would never have Americans on the ground. Didn't that animate some of your fellow senators the way it did you and obviously has me?
Well, there are two mindsets up here. Some people want him to do much more. They want boots on the ground. Many people up here would like to see a full-scale invasion, toppling of the regime, and they're mostly unhappy because he isn't immediately going in and toppling the regime. Then there are some of us who have a respect for the Constitution who are worried about the precedent that is set by allowing a president to go to war with no debate, no discussion. He had time to go to the UN. He had time to go to the Arab League. He had time to go just about everywhere in the world to ask for permission, except for down Pennsylvania Avenue to the Congress, which the Constitution says he has to come here, and he went everywhere else but here.
This is a fight worth fighting, Senator Paul, and I encourage you to continue it for the sake of our lives and for history, for our freedom and that of our posterity. Switching gears, I realize there's two budgets before the Congress. The one that will take us from now to the end of September, and then the president's $3.7 trillion proposed 2012 budget. Let's talk about the first one, the one to finish up the present fiscal year. Word is that earlier today from Senator Charles Schumer, of all people, there might actually be a compromise between Republican leadership, Democratic leadership, and the White House to pass a budget to take us through to the end of September, not a 2 or 3 week continuing resolution, but it only cuts $33 billion from what the president wants. Do you understand that such an agreement might be in the works? And if it is in the works, would you support it?
The interesting thing is if we cut $30 billion and realize we're not cutting from 2010 spending, what we spent last year still goes up. We're cutting the proposed increases. So let's say it was going to go up $60 billion. We're cutting 30 from the $60 billion it would have increased anyway. Also realize that $30 billion is 3 days worth of spending. That's what we spend in 3 days. And then also realize that $30 billion compared to a deficit of $1.65 trillion is not enough to really change the direction of the country. I'm afraid that we cannot survive trillion-dollar annual deficits. The president's own budget predicts a $1 trillion budget after 10 years.
Right.
I think it's unsustainable.
Here's what I'm concerned about. If this budget passes, is this a stealth way of raising the debt ceiling? Because this thing cannot possibly be financed just on revenue collection. This thing would imply that the president can continue to borrow money after he reaches $14.3 trillion. We throw around these trillions as if they were peanuts. The numbers are mind-boggling. But this would imply that after he reaches $14.3 trillion in debt, which is about to reach in about 2 or 3 weeks, that he can continue to borrow more. Or will there be a separate vote on raising the debt ceiling?
I think there's going to be a separate vote on raising the debt ceiling. And interestingly, what are they going to ask for? You know how long $1 trillion will last? If we raise the debt ceiling $1 trillion, they will have to come back in November and ask for more money. So we will spend $1 trillion between April or May and November. It is literally out of control. We cannot continue to live this way, but that's what's going on. They will ask for $1 trillion raise in the debt ceiling.
Wow.
And I just don't think we can withstand this.
You got your work cut out for you, Senator Paul, and we appreciate the time you've shared with us. Thanks so much.
Thank you.